Hi everyone, welcome to Mindful Thoughts, where we talk about motherhood, mental health, healing, and everything in between. Hi, I'm your host Rhea, and today I'm opening about one of the most life-changing experiences I've ever had. So this is my journey into motherhood through a cesarean section. So, whether you are preparing for a C section, recovering from one, or just curious about what it's really like, I want to share this story with honesty, heart, and healing. Let's start from the beginning. So, I still remember the exact moment we found out. We saw two red lines on the pregnancy test. We were so happy, so excited. It felt like our little miracle had just begun. Of course, we immediately went to consult an OBGYN to confirm everything and start prenatal care. But during the first checkup, things didn't go as expected. The OB saw only the bahay bata or the uterus, but no baby inside. So just an empty sac. So she told me it might not be viable pregnancy and even advised me to take medicine that would make me bleed. It was heartbreaking and terrifying. It was a huge decision, but I couldn't shake the feeling that maybe it was too soon to lose hope. So we sought a second opinion, but thank God we did. The second OB gave us a chance. She said, let's wait, take all your vitamins, rest, and we'll see what happens. So that gave me the tiniest thread of hope, and I clung to it with everything I had. I followed her advice. I took my supplements, got plenty of rest, and prayed constantly. So then came the day of the follow up ultrasound. I was shaking with nervousness, overwhelmed with mixed emotions, and then we saw it, a heartbeat, a tiny, strong heartbeat. Our baby was really here. So I cried tears of relief and joy, but I also couldn't help but think, what if I had taken that medicine? What if I had lost this precious life before even giving her a chance? So that thought stayed with me for a very long time. But more than anything, it reminded me how precious and sacred this journey truly is. After that, everything it changed me. My pregnancy became peaceful. I didn't have morning sickness, and I felt calm, rested, and healthy. Even my OB said I didn't have to visit every month because everything was going so smoothly. But I still look forward to every checkup just to see my baby move and grow on that little black and white screen. It was magical every single time. So then came one of the most exciting chapters, our gender reveal. So we decided to do it big, not so big. We checked in at one of the beautiful beaches in Batangas. The idea was simple but so special. So we prepared blue and pink papers and asked one of the resort staff to check the gender result and place the right color into an umbrella without telling us. I also asked our family members to wear the color of the gender they were hoping for. So most of them came wearing blue while just a few wore pink. So the moment of truth came. We stood there on the beach surrounded by waves, love, and anticipation. Then the umbrella opened and out came pink paper fluttering in the wind. So it's a baby girl. We all screamed, laughed, jumped, and cried. That moment was pure happiness, just pure, overwhelming, overflowing joy. So our baby girl was on her way, and the love surrounding her already was everything I could have hoped for. And of course, after the reveal came another exciting chapter, that is shopping. Shopping for baby essentials. This was honestly one of the most fun parts of my pregnancy. It felt like I wanted to buy everything in the mall, from tiny newborn clothes to bottles, blankets, a crib, and even cute hair bows. Every aisle felt magical. Every item made it feel even more real. I was nesting hard and loving every moment of it. Even choosing the colors and themes for her things made me feel connected to her before she even arrived. So, what were the lessons I learned from this journey? So, number one is trust your instincts, but don't be afraid to ask for a second opinion. When we saw those two red lines, we were so overjoyed, but that joy was quickly mixed with fear during our first OB visit when she couldn't find the baby, just the gestational sac. She suggested a medication that would have ended the pregnancy if there really was no baby. And in that moment, I had to listen to something deeper, my gut feeling, my faith. We consulted another doctor, and thankfully, she said we should wait, rest, and take vitamins. And you know what? That decision changed everything. So, to all moms out there, if something doesn't feel right, it's okay to seek another voice. This is your journey. Don't be afraid to advocate for yourself and for your baby. So, a chill pregnancy doesn't mean you love less or worry less. I didn't experience morning sickness, so everything felt easy. My OB even told me I didn't need monthly checkups since the baby was so healthy. But I still look forward to every ultrasound just to see my baby move in that black and white screen, but to feel that bond growing. It's a reminder that even if your pregnancy feels smooth, it's still a miracle every single day. You can enjoy it, love, prepare, and still be an amazing, caring, and intentional mom. So, waiting for the heartbeat, waiting to know if there really was a baby, praying that we made the right decision, but by not taking that medicine, those weeks were emotionally heavy, but they taught me something important. You don't need certainty to keep believing. Faith lives in the what ifs. It grows in uncertainty. When I finally saw my baby in that scan, I broke down because I knew then hope carried me here. Another thing is celebrating with others makes the journey even more joyful. So our gender reveal at the beach in Batangas was one of the happiest moment of my life. We asked family members to wear blue or pink, and most were blue, only a few were pink. So that moment, the umbrella opened and revealed pink confetti. I felt like the world paused in celebration. It's a girl. The joy of knowing, the laughter, the screaming, the jumping. It reminded me that pregnancy is not just personal. It's also um communal. So bringing life into the world brings people together. So lastly is shopping for your baby is more than buying things. So it's preparing your heart. So after the gender reveal, we started shopping, and wow, I felt like I could buy the entire baby section. So every tiny dress, every bottle, every blanket had so much meaning. This wasn't just about being ready with stuff. It was about imagining her here picturing her using them, holding her in those tiny clothes. So shopping became a way of mentally and emotionally preparing to welcome her. That joy, that anticipation, it's part of the bonding too. So in summary, pregnancy will surprise you. Sometimes it will really scare you, but every phase is your heart teaches you something about love, trust, and preparation. So, wherever you are in your own journey, remember that it's okay to feel scared, it's okay to be excited, and it's beautiful to celebrate every step. So after the gender reveal and the excitement of baby shopping, life slowly started shifting. So I was still working for the first 6 months of my pregnancy, living in the province, going about my daily routine. But eventually, my husband and I made the big decision to move to Manila to prepare for the birth. So this transition wasn't easy, from being active and working to suddenly becoming a full-time stay at home pregnant woman. So my body started to feel the difference. I wasn't moving around as much anymore. So most of my days were spent just sleeping and eating. And I mean eating a lot, like a lot. I got to the point where I became super manas. So my body felt heavy, my feet swollen really big, my blood pressure started to climb. So it became a real concern, not just for me, but for the baby too. So my OB began asking me to come in almost every day just to monitor everything closely. So the ultrasounds, the lab tests, the daily checkups, it was honestly overwhelming. And compared to the province, medical costs in Manila were so much more expensive. So we felt the weight financially, emotionally, and physically. So my expected due date was originally late October to early November. To be exact, October 29 to November 9 something. So we were counting down and trying to be patient. So but then something unexpected happened. So on the last week of August, my OB told me I needed to get an ultrasound to check the amniotic fluid levels. So because of my high and fluctuating blood pressure, she wanted to make sure the baby was still safe inside. So but before I could even get to that ultrasound, my BP spiked again. So my blood pressure got maybe 170 over 100. So they sent me straight to the labor room for monitoring. So thankfully, after about an hour, my blood pressure normalized and I was discharged. I thought we were in the clear, but the next day the ultrasound result came in. The fluid inside was too low na, so it wasn't safe anymore for my baby. I had to be admitted immediately and we had to induce labor to try to deliver the baby. So we packed up, prepared everything we could, checked into the hospital and got a room. I was then transferred to the labor room where I stayed for 24 hours 24 hours straight. So in the labor room, they do not allow phones, companion, or even the distraction. So just me and the sound of my baby's heartbeat on the monitor. So that was all I could hear the entire night. Not just my baby's heartbeat, but the heartbeat of other babies being monitored too. So in that night, I felt alone. I was exhausted and I was anxious. I didn't even know what was going to happen next. So the next morning, the hospital staff gave me medicine to induce labor. So I was hopeful, I was nervous. I kept thinking maybe this will be the moment. So I finally met my baby girl. So, beside me is another mom who had the same case as mine, was already starting to feel contractions. So, her body was responding. So, she was progressing, but Me, in that moment, I felt nothing, no pain, no contractions, nothing was happening. So hours passed and then things took a turn. So my baby's heartbeat started fluctuating and I couldn't breathe properly. I felt dizzy, weak and overwhelmed. So they had to place oxygen on me and my doctors explained something that scared me. The medicine wasn't working with my body. It wasn't compatible. My system couldn't take it everything. So my everything in my eyes started moving fast. So they told me I had to be rushed in the operating room. So no more waiting, no more induction. So my baby had to come out now, as in she said now. So they immediately called my husband and told him the situation and asked for the consent for an emergency C-section. So in that moment, we both knew this was the safest way. So he said yes. So inside the operating room, everything happened so quickly. The lights, the cold air, the people in the mask, the rush of the nursing prepping everything. So then came the anesthesia, the spinal block. I felt it go through my back and just like that, my lower body went numb. I couldn't or I could hear the voices of the doctors. I could feel movement but no pain. I kept praying. I kept thinking, please let her be okay. And then the baby out. So my baby out, but there was no cry. There was silence. My heart dropped. I heard the rush of the nurses and doctors working on her, and while my baby was still stitching me up, or my OB was still stitching me up, she kept asking the in charge doctor or the in charge nurse, kamusta ang baby? May iyak na ba? And then seconds left like hours, and then finally she cried, a small struggling cry, but it was the most beautiful sound I ever heard. I couldn't stop crying while my body was literally shaking, chilling from the cold and the anesthesia, but in my heart, warm poured in. So she was alive, she was here. So the nurse brought her close to me so I could see her face, her little eyes closed, wrapped tight, tiny but strong. So the nurse told me she'd be taken to her pediatrician right away to be checked. So I wanted to hold her so badly, but I understand her safety was the priority. Then I was brought to the recovery room. It was cold, and around me, I saw other mothers holding and breastfeeding her babies or breastfeeding their babies. And there I was lying there alone, no baby in my arms. I couldn't feel much, but I felt that after some time, I was finally wheeled back to my room. As the door opened, the first thing I saw was my husband standing there, worried and waiting. So the moment he saw me, he rushed to my side, asking me, okay ka lang? Anong nararamdaman mo? He held my hand and I felt safe. I didn't have all the answers. I didn't know everything that was coming next, but at least I wasn't alone. So, what is my takeaway for this journey? Um, Birth is not just about a moment. It's about endurance. Giving birth isn't just about that final moment when the baby comes out. It's about everything that leads up to it, the sleepless nights, the mental pressure, the medical decisions, the fear of the unknown. From the time I was admitted to not knowing what would happen to finally hearing my baby cry, it was a test of patience, courage, and faith. It taught me that true strength is quiet, steady, and persistent. Even when I felt powerless, I was enduring something incredibly powerful. So it's okay to feel both joy and fear at the same time. No one talks about the emotional roller coaster that happens in those hours. So, 1 minute you're praying your baby is okay, the next you're crying out of relief. You are happy but also scared, and that's normal. Motherhood isn't about pretending you're always okay. It's about being honest with what you feel and still choosing to move forward with love. I learned to hold space for both of my fears and my joys, and that made the experience more real, more raw, and more meaningful. So, the C section doesn't make you less of a mom, it makes you a warrior. There's still this quiet judgment in some places, like if you didn't give birth naturally, your motherhood is somehow different. But I'm here to say no. Being cut open to save your baby, lying in that cold room, giving birth, without even being able to hold your baby right away, that takes a kind of courage and no one can measure. A mother is a mother, no matter how the baby enters the world. Even in silence, miracles happen. So when I didn't hear my baby cry right away, my heart broke. That silence felt louder than anything. But that small delay reminded me that life is fragile. It reminded me to never take anything for granted. Not a heartbeat, not a breath, not a single cry. That moment taught me that even when things don't go as expected, miracles can still unfold. Support matters more than anything, whether it's the medical staff, your OB who keeps checking on your baby even while stitching you, or your husband who waits outside worrying. It all matters. I wouldn't have made it through without the people who stood by me. Having someone ask okay ka lang at your lowest point can be the difference between falling apart and holding it together. So, to every mom listening to this, whether your birth was smooth or scary, quick or complicated, you are strong, you are brave, and you did something amazing. And to every partner or loved one, your presence, your patience, your encouragement, your sacrifices, it means more than you know. So moving forward, giving birth is not the end of the journey. It's the beginning of an entirely new chapter. After my emergency C-section, I was transferred to the recovery room. So most of the moms around me were holding and breastfeeding their babies, but I was lying there, still numb, still shaking, still in shock. So, no baby in my arms, no warm skin to skin moment, just a whirlwind of emotions I can't even process yet. Later that day, I was brought to our hospital room. So, but things didn't feel any better. I wasn't allowed to eat or even drink water. I couldn't even stand to go to the bathroom. I had to ask or I had to use a bedpan. I was in pain, confused, and disconnected. And at that moment, I could only focus on myself, on surviving the aftermath of surgery. So everything changed the moment my mom walked into the room. She came all the way from Mindoro just to see me, and the second I laid eyes on her, I broke down. I literally broke down. And that was the moment I realized that I was not okay. I cried like a child because that's when I realized a mom needs a mom even when you become a mother yourself. There are moments when you just want your own mama to hold you, to remind you that you're not alone. That moment with my mom snapped me back into reality. That's when I finally let myself feel it, that I wasn't okay, that my baby wasn't okay, that nothing about this was easy. So my baby was in the NSU, or the newborn special unit, connected to wires and machines. She looked so small, so fragile. To protect me while I recovered, my husband and my sister made a decision not to show me any pictures of her. So they didn't want me to add stress to my already fragile state. So the longing in my heart grew stronger every hour. On the second day, I finally got to see her, and when I did, I cried endlessly. There was my baby girl fighting, breathing, holding on. I couldn't even touch her properly, but just seeing her gave me strength and broke my heart at the same time. So I was discharged from the hospital, but she wasn't, and that was one of the hardest parts. So I went home with no baby in my arms, and unlike the other moms walking proudly out of the hospital, I left carrying only my pain and the breast pump. I had to keep producing milk for a baby, and I couldn't even hold. My husband was my hero, juggling for work, caring for me, and going to the hospital to deliver my pump milk. So meanwhile, my OB told me something I held on to. You need to get better before your baby comes home. So that became my mission. I healed, I prayed, I waited, and then the day came. Her doctor said she was finally ready for discharge, and while I was overwhelmed with excitement, I was also scared. What if I'm not ready? What if she's not strong enough? But when we saw her alive, healthy, crying, we knew we are finally going home as a family. So, what is my takeaway, or what is my lesson for this journey? There's no perfect way to become a mother. I didn't give birth the way I expected. I didn't get that magical movie moment of holding my baby right after delivery. But I became a mother in the quietest, rawest, and the most sacred ways. In the waiting, in the pain, in the pumping, in the prayers. Motherhood isn't defined by the moment you give birth. It's revealed by how you show up after. So the hardest moments often reveal the strongest love. Those days, I was lying in bed in pain without my baby. Those nights I cried not knowing how she was doing in the NSU. They weren't just hard, they were scared. And I was scared also. Because in those moments, I discovered the depth of my love. It's easy to love when things are perfect, but real love shows up when nothing is. It's okay to feel a mix of emotions all at once. I felt guilt for not being okay. I felt joy for her survival and fear for her condition. I felt strength and weakness in the same breath. Motherhood isn't about feeling one emotion, it's about holding space for all of them and still choosing to keep going. And you're also allowed to ask, why me? And still come out stronger. I asked that so many times. Why did I have to go through that emergency C-section? Why couldn't I hold my baby? Why was she in the NSU? But eventually, I stopped asking why and started whispering, what now? What now, Lord? What do I do? How do I move forward? And in that shift from despair to surrender, I found strength. So your story matters. No matter how messy, delayed, or painful it began, I used to feel like I missed something, that I lost the chance to bond with her early. But that's not true. Our story didn't start wrong. It just started differently. And even in the messiness, there is meaning. Even in the NSU, there was grace. Even in the silence, there was love. So, having your own mom in the hardest moment reminds you you're still someone's child. Seeing my mom in that moment reminded me that I didn't have to be strong every minute. That even when you become a mother, you still need a mother. And if you are blessed to have her with you in the season, embrace it. Because sometimes the strength to be a mom comes from being loved like a child again. So after that journey, the day we brought our baby home was something I had dreamed about for weeks. After everything, my complicated pregnancy, my emergency C-section, and the long days in the NSU. Finally, we were going home as a complete family. So I remember seeing her all dressed up for the first time without the wires, without the hospital monitors, just my baby finally ready to come home. I was smiling, I was excited. But to be honest, I was also scared because this was the start of a whole new chapter. No more nurses, no more machines, no more asking someone else is if she's okay. It was just me, my husband, and our baby. And we were now fully responsible. So that first week at home was a blur. She was waking up every 2 to 3 hours to feed. So I was still sore from the operation while my husband was juggling work and taking care of both of us. And I was learning how to be a mom while still healing from everything that just happened. So I thought feeding would be simple. I thought I'd be able to breastfeed her directly, but I wasn't able to latch her. And that really hurt me. So I felt like I was already missing something. So I questioned myself. I felt guilty really. But instead of giving up, I chose to pump. So I bought a 10,000 pumping machine just to produce a milk for my baby. Even when it was hard, even when I was exhausted, sitting in the dark, hearing only the hum of the machine, sterilizing bottles, watching the onses, getting frustrated when the output was low, but still doing it because it was for her. Even if I couldn't hold her to my chest every feeding, I was still nourishing her, and that matters. So every bottle of pump milk I gave her was my way of saying, Nanay loves you, Nanay is trying, and Nanay is here for you. To be honest, pumping isn't easy. It is lonely and draining sometimes, but it's also powerful because it's fueled by sacrifice and love. There were moments I cried quietly at night while holding her, not because she was hard to care of or to care for, but because everything was hard, the recovery, the emotions, the responsibility. But even in the chaos, every little thing was a milestone. The first time she smiled in her sleep, the first time her fingers wrapped tightly around mine, the first diaper change my husband did on his own, clueless but trying. Those were the wins. I held on to them. So, you don't have to love every minute, but you are allowed to love your baby fiercely through all of it. Some moments will be hard, some will make you question yourself, but even on those days, you're still doing a beautiful job. Another lesson for this journey, for my journey, is that feeding doesn't define your motherhood. Whether you latch, whether you pump, formula feed, a combo feed, or a mixed feed, what matters is that your baby is nourished. Feeding is an act of love, not a competition. So, aside from that, is rest is part of the work. You can't pour from an empty cup. I always say this. You can pour from an empty cup. Healing physically and emotionally is also your responsibility as a mother. And it's okay to put yourself first sometimes. It's okay also to grieve the birth or newborn experience you didn't get. Maybe you wanted a natural birth or to latch or to bring your baby home sooner. It's okay to feel sad about it, even if you are grateful too. Your worth is not measured by your productivity. You are not just at home. You're building a human. You're recovering. You're learning love in its rawest form. That's not small work. It's everything. So let people help you. Whether it's your partner, your mom, your sister, or a friend, lean on them. Accept help without guilt. Motherhood wasn't meant to be done alone. And celebrate the tiniest wins. Diaper, a finished bottle, a 10-minute nap, a hot shower. These are victories too, and they count and they matter also. So, to close this segment, motherhood begins in your heart long before it reaches your hands. And the early days, though messy, exhausting, and overwhelming, will shape you more than you realize. They say when a baby is born, so is a mother. But I'll add with this, when a mother is born, she learns to rebuild herself in love. So to every mom out there who feels tired, confused, or life she's not doing enough, you are enough, you are becoming, and you are never alone in this journey. So thank you for letting me share my story. It's taken me time to be okay with how things went, but I wouldn't trade this journey for anything. So to all C-section moms, all the NSU moms, all warrior moms, you are sane, you are strong, and you are deeply loved. So don't forget to follow Mindful Thoughts for more honest conversations about motherhood, mental health, and healing. And if this episode resonated with you, I love to hear your story. Reach out on my YouTube channel or my Facebook and send me a message. Until next time, breathe deeply, love gently, and remember, you are enough. This is Rhea, and you've listened to Mindful Thoughts. Bye bye!